Wow, wow, wow. I could not believe what Lectric has just come out with. This is the new XP4, and it is absolutely mind-blowing. When they announced it, I was super excited to go ahead and give it a try. So I want to say thank you, Lectric, for sending this out for review. And I am absolutely blown away with what they've put into this. Anything that you could have thought that might have made an improvement on has been integrated into this. And at the price point that they're giving it, it is absolutely amazing. In this review, we're going to check out some ride footage and then go over the fuller specs. And I'll explain to you why I think this is the best bike for 2025 for the money that's out there. Let's get started.
Unfold the future in my hands. Wheels of thunder across the lands. 1,300 watts that roar. This machine leaves me wanting more. Ride the lightning, feel the spark. 85 miles tearing through the dark. Super tuned torque, it's a dream come alive. 28 miles an hour, I'm electrified. It's the XP4, a future's beast. From the west to the east, it never ceased. Folding freedom built to explore. It's the ride of the year and so much more. Ride the lightning, feel the spark. 85 miles tearing through the dark. Super tuned torque, it's a dream come alive. 28 miles an hour, I'm electrified.
Typically, I don't usually cut the box open by the sides to get the bike taken out, but because it's an Lectric branded bike, I didn't have any worries that this bike would have any issues that I would need to send it back. I know that they would take care of me no matter what, so I just decided I'm going to make it easy on myself. I cut the box open, making sure I wasn't going to hit anything vital while I was cutting the sides, then pulled out the bike, unwrapped all the paper that they put around it. They're very eco-friendly, so there's no foam that you have to deal with. Other than that, I just made sure that all my adjustments were made so that everything was in the right place, checked the electricals to make sure that worked out, and then pumped up the tires to make sure it was at the right specs. Lectric always puts their own tire sealant in it, so I didn't need to put my own, so I was just ready to ride.
Okay, so we're walking up to the Lectric XP4, and this is going to be one of those videos where I'm totally going to be gushing about how amazing this bike is. I don't know how they can keep on surprising us with such innovative things that they're putting on this bike. And I think it's because they just really honestly listen to their customers, because everything that I've ever thought, maybe they should probably potentially do on a bike like this, they've done. And I want to try to start with the chainring. Some of the problems with the XP versions prior to that was that you'd start air pedaling pretty early. Well, with a chainring that's this large at this point, it's 56 teeth. It's humongous, which means that you'll still be able to push the bike even at higher speeds. And that is one of the greatest things. The other thing that they've done now, which I'm so glad with, is that they put in a Shimano Altus derailleur. And this derailleur with trigger shifters here that we have at the top is just a great combination, especially for a bike like this, because as you're shifting through the gears, you just trigger, 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 and it moves up and down. So if you've never seen what trigger shifters do, this brings you into your lower gears, and this puts you up in your higher. So you're gonna be just switching really quickly. You just triggering down, and it just moves your gears all the way from the low gear to higher gears. And then vice versa, you push this in, and you can get a couple of clicks into this, 3, by just one push. So you can do 3 gears at one point. Now that's not good to do without the bike moving, but I just wanted to show you that's one of the things that I've always wanted them to do better with is the shifters now that they're using Altus, because they've always used turning in the past, and now the Altus is just an upgrade that I've always thought they should always go to. So they've been able to get an upgraded derailleur and yet keep the price down. And that's just amazing in itself. The other thing is this bike version is a 750 watt version. And it also has a larger 17.5 amp hour battery, which means you can get potentially up to 85-mile range with ideal conditions. Now, I'm going to say relatively to be safe, I'd say 60, 65 would be a very conservative amount that you don't have to worry about. But that being said, you just don't have to charge it as much and you'll get a long range. The anxiety is going to be really taken away. And especially if you want to carry something that's a little heavier, you're going to, of course, lose some of your momentum, your battery usage or wattage. But with a 330-pound max payload capacity for this bike, head to toe. 330 is a lot of weight for a bike like this. Also, the rack in itself can hold up to 150 pounds. And this double rack system that they have here, you can also put cargo on it, but you can also put kid seat on it. So it has everything you really want. The other thing about this motor, I want to go back to this, is that if you can see it here, hopefully you can see it, it says M24. Now, they've always claimed that these had these stealth M24 motors. I never thought they were really that much quieter until I've ridden this one. This is a really quiet motor. Not like it really makes a difference. To be honest, though, sometimes the other 750 watts that I've been riding around before make a lot of noise. It was good because people on the trails could hear you coming, but it was also bad because they would hear you coming. And with this here, it's a little quieter and I can just tell them I'm passing to the left or right. And these tires are also very relatively quiet, very comfortable. By the way, Lectric does put slime in all of their tires so that they do have puncture resistant sealant already in it. And Slime is one of the higher selling brands on the market. So I did not put in my typical sealant in it. It's something that, just so you know, you don't have to worry as much about flat tires unless you get a side puncture or something, but it does also come with that. Nice touch that they've added. Also, this is a 20 by 3-inch tire bike. So it is a lot softer, smoother ride. I have this pumped up to 40 PSI. As you can see, it does say pumped to from 25 to 45 PSI. I have it about at 40, and it's a very soft, comfortable ride here. This here is also a brake light, but it also now has blinkers. So that's another thing that they've added to the bike here. I don't know if that's a UL rating safety thing that they need to add, but before, that was one thing I've always been a little, not disappointed, but I just wish they added would be a brake light, not just a tail light. But this is a tail light and a brake light, so that's really nice as well. The other thing is this package deal that I got at the time of this recording, it does come with the upgraded soft comfy seat and a suspension seat post. It makes for a very nice ride. So you get extra comfort from this soft cushion seat, also from the seat post here. This is rated for riders between 4'10" to 6'3". Now, these handlebars might be a little close, but you can adjust these by pivoting it forward to get a little more length on that. But it might be a little short for some of your taller riders as far as the arm reach, but nonetheless, you still have that ability to go ahead and make your adjustments. You can also do, it's a telescoping, so you can bring up and down the length of the handlebars to go a little higher. The other thing that makes this ride a very comfortable ride is that it also has front suspension. And this suspension here has lockouts as well as your preload adjustments on that side here. And then of course you have this nice big bright headlight on the front. Most of the time the bright headlights are mostly so that you can be seen. I wouldn't say it's going to light up the road in front of you really well on a dark road. So you might want to have an extra added accessory light that's really bright if you do ride at night, especially in dark areas. But nonetheless, they do have it. It works well. And yeah, you don't have to worry too much about being seen because you have a front headlight and that will comply with a lot. Now, the bike also is completely UL rated. It's not only battery UL rated at UL 2271, which means it's a very safe battery, but it also has a frame or whole electrical rating of UL rating of 2849, which really covers a lot, which is why you have so much of this strong reinforcements, because to get a UL rating, they do have to put it through a lot of stress tests. It's an expensive rating to get on a bike because you have to send it in and basically they'll stress test it to see if it'll break or not. One thing that you do see here, I wish that they did add, was even if it was a sticker type, is a chain guard so that it doesn't slap and make the marks that you see here. But that's a simple, very inexpensive accessory you can just add yourself if you want to. Very minor, but that is one thing that I did see there. One thing you will notice that there is no chain strike here. So the pedaling is going to be very clean going all the way back. So you don't have to worry about pedaling and hitting it there. Now, as you can see here, it is a foldable bike. So because you have this folding mechanism here, it also means that the battery can be removed and it is housed within this area here. The one thing I noticed is that they did put cushioning within the batteries to keep it from rattling, to keep a very solid, silent ride, because some of the other bikes, that's one thing that you do here is the battery is sometimes shaking while it's in there, but now you have that in there. But I did notice that those stickers that they added in for a little padding were a little loose. If you pull the battery in and out a lot, you're going to have it curling up and coming off. So that's just something that just keep in mind. It does make the battery tight to pull out. This is one thing that's new, is the key is not under the bike anymore, which is from the previous models. They have the key on the side. So you do need the key to turn on and off, or to turn and release the battery. But there is also now, I'm going to open this up here, an on and off switch. for the battery. So you can turn off the bike here, and you can also turn it off at the top, but you can turn off the battery here and then charge it through the port right below here, and this port here. When you're charging it, you can charge it on the bike, or for me, like I like to take it upstairs. I take it out of the bike itself, and I would be charging it upstairs there. All right, so since we have this angle, let's go ahead and take a look at these brake rotors. We have 180 millimeter rotors, and we have new, I guess they have a, I don't know if it's custom, they called it, but it's a proprietary or it's a custom brake hydraulic system that's on here, which is made by the Star Union. And these brakes work great. Apparently they have thicker rotors than your typical rotors, even at 180 millimeters, because these are thicker, I guess more stopping power, but it's 28% thicker than standard rotors that are on normal bikes. They work really good. You can see as I was doing some of the intro video here on my skid marks, just from lightly grabbing the brakes. And we have also 180 millimeters back here with, again, the thicker rotor on the bike. And I'm only going to be talking about really the 750 watt, which is at $12.99 at the time of this recording. And the 500 watt is at $9.99. So there's a $300 difference. But with the 750, you also get the larger battery. I would say if you're going to consider getting a bike and you can, and I know budgets might be tight, but if you can wait and get that extra $300 to get the upgrade, it will be well worth it. Now, there's nothing wrong with the 500 watt. It is a smaller battery. It is a smaller motor. The range would probably be pretty decent because it won't be draining as much. The only thing is that you will have the extra power when you need it, and you're going to want it. And also you're going to have the extra battery charge on it. So this is something that I would also recommend just waiting on if you are debating between getting a 50 and a 500 and you just can't afford the 750 yet. It'll be worth the extra $300 because the range anxiety is just brought down less. As you can also see, you do have bottle cage bosses here, which is really nice. They also put some underneath so that you can put locks, and you can have a water bottle here and a lock added here, which it did come with a foldable lock with the bike. The only thing about putting a water bottle here is it does take some of your step through space, but nonetheless, you do have that option where you can either put a lock or a water bottle here. It is 24 inches step over from here to the ground. So as long as you can get your feet over, this is the step over model or step through model. As long as you can get your feet above the ground, it'll be a nice clearance for you to be able to put your leg over and back and forth. Now, I had a conversation with somebody I was talking to earlier about the step through or step over, and they said the step throughs now are their choice because a lot of people fall down getting off their bikes on step over models because they're swinging their leg over and maybe their leg gives out, especially because the demographic of riders now are 60 and above. So just keep that in mind. You do have that as well, where if you're having an option between the two, a lot of people who have gotten a step over end up saying that they wish they got the step through. It would have been easier for them. In fact, a lot of people do switch over. So you'll see that a lot of times the step through is really the choice that are made. Now, I'm going to talk about something I should have probably said about earlier because this is huge. They put in what's called a torque sensor into this bike here. To be honest, I prefer what's called cadence sensor, but I've always said if they go to a torque sensor, it's not that bad, but I prefer cadence because you don't need to put any pressure on the pedals to get to your 28 miles an hour if you want to get to that top speed. The thing that they've done with this, which absolutely blows my mind, is some type of new technology or just new programming, is that it works like a cadence torque combined, which means if you put a little bit of pressure, but you're on turbo 5, it almost works like a cadence where the bike just starts to go at a higher speed. The thing is, also, if you're at a higher speed and you slow down your pedaling, but you hit the throttle, it works like a cadence sensor where you just have to keep your pedaling at a decent rate and the bike will just keep on going without you having to put pressure. Because some of the things I don't like about the torque sensor bikes is that my usual ride home is all uphill. Now, so when the battery's a little lower or if I'm a little more tired and I want to get home really quick, I don't want to keep having to use a lot of exerted energy because I've already gone for most of my ride. And I like the cadence where I can just go ahead and just free spin and the bike will just get to its top speed very quickly, very easily. So they have solved that where you get the torque sensor, where you get the sensitivity of it, you get the less lag of it kicking in, and yet you still get the cadence ability to do that. And I know for those of you who maybe have never tried riding a bike like this, understanding cadence and torque sensor Basically, a torque sensor feels the pressure of how much pressure you're putting on the pedal, and it sends extra power to the motor the more pressure you put on the pedal. So it gives you like Superman legs, where a cadence sensor basically has magnets, and as the magnets pass where you're pedaling, it just kicks the motor into having a throttle. So you don't have to put any pressure if you don't want, you just have to keep spinning the pedals or spinning your pedals round and round, and it just starts to go. So that's the other thing here. Now, here's another thing that absolutely got me super excited is they really upgraded, I'm turning on the bike now, the display here. And this display, I have a polarized lens on my camera so that I can also see that it does not be affected by sunglasses, which is one thing, but it's nice and bright. It is midday here, sunny California, and you can see this is really clear even if I'm riding with sunglasses on. And we have 5 different modes, starting with Eco, Tour, Sport, Sport Plus, and Turbo. And these are your level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of how much power will be put to your motor. What's really cool about this design though, is if you click the middle, you have a lot of information. And this is just the beginning. Cadence sensor, how much your RPM of how much you're pedaling and how fast, because that also does send information to the motor. The other thing is you have your odometer reading, then your trip distance and your trip time. But the next thing is if you hit it again in the middle, you see you have input power, your motor power. That means how many watts it's putting out there. And I've seen it go up to 1270 watts or so, but this motor has 24 amps being put out at 48 volts. That 1200 is easily hit. Your amps, how much amps is being put out, and your voltage for your battery. So I went, how many miles today? Odometer 19 miles total. This is since I've charged the battery. We probably went, I think, about 14 miles today. So 70% at 14 miles. This is the rating that you're going to get from it. But you get all of this information here, and it's really good. The other thing is using the settings in this. So I had this in the garage because I was trying to do the settings. When I first did the test ride, I realized I was being capped out at 20 miles max, and I wanted to see it. So I know a lot of bikes, you just hold down the plus and the minus, and it takes you into the setting. While I was on the road, I was able to get into this, and I was blown away at how easy it was to get in here. You can do your screen brightness, 1, 2, 3, and then you can, your sleep, but how long the bike stays idle. If nothing touches it, this goes to sleep. I have it at 10 minutes set right now, but you can adjust that, 9, 8. And then your distance in units is going to be either metric, either miles or kilometers right here. And then you have your tire size, your bike classification. So this is where I thought was really cool because California passed some new laws, which is called a California Class 3. And what it does is it takes off your throttle. In California now, if you have a Class 3 bike, you cannot have an active throttle on your bike. So when you have it set to that, you can get up to 20 miles an hour. You can only use pedaling. You can use torque or cadence sensor, it doesn't matter. But you can only use pedaling and you cannot use throttle for any power. Class 3, which is more federal and what happens everywhere else, basically this Class 3, you can go up to 20 miles an hour with a throttle. And then after that 20 miles an hour, you have to pedal a little bit to get assistance and it'll take you up to 28 miles an hour. Class 2 is basically 20 miles an hour max of everything. Class 1 is no throttle, pedaling only 20 miles an hour max as well. So I leave it at Class 3, and that's really nice. Now the assistance level here, you have your standard torque multiplier and increased torque multiplier. I've not tried these two yet. The way it's set at standard right now, it works really good for me. I really like it. This increase probably would make it so that you have more of a cadence sensor. I'm going to guess it has more power, but again, it works really well. And I would say leave it at most settings that you're going to have. Now, the throttle and PS toggle. So you have your PS active and throttle active, and then of course you can turn on and off PS inactive and PS throttle. So you have 3 different settings you can go through here. But again, so easy, so intuitive. It tells you what it is. The throttle output, I gotta say, be a little careful when using something like this. Output limited based on PS level. That means your throttle level will be based on what level you have on your power setting. Otherwise, you can have full throttle output at all PS levels. I had this set because I wanted full throttle. It kicks. And there's nothing wrong with this setting here. But this setting here, if you're not used to it, the bike can take off without you being ready. I guess the best way to put it. I would say leave it here. It works fine. Totally up to you. You have that option there. Throttle 0 start. At 0 level, the throttle does not work. And just you have to go to 1. I like to leave that throttle 0 start so that I don't get accidental kick start off when I'm putting away the bike, because that happens. And of course you have your walk mode, 3 miles an hour, 3.7 miles an hour, which is really nice because most of these walk modes were set at 4 earlier days. and it was really hard. So a slower walk is very nice to have, so you can control that. And those are your settings here. A light operation, so turn lights on, manually on and off, or you can lights on when bike is on, or manually flashing turn on. So you can even control your light. There's so many great settings. Odometer reset, that's self-explanatory. And then of course, to get out of the menu after you set your modes, you hit it here. So this is another great option, because before you needed to know the codes. There's codes that you'd have and then you set it. So now there's no confusion, very clear. I'm so glad that they did this upgrade to this setting here. This here, as you can see, is the controller, very easy. Plus and minus will take you through the different turbo levels. This is your blinker. I'll hold down that here. Let's see what it looks like midday, if you can see the blinker. Very bright. You hit the same side again, and it turns off the blinker. So by hitting this, it turns off. You also notice it does show you in the display that your blinker is on. But if I hit it again, or I go the other side, you do now see that you have a blinker on the right side as well. And you can also set up the brake. Let's see if I can get the brake to show. Yeah. You see how the brake light is turning on? That's the best angle I can get you, but that does show you that the brake light does work. It's just a really intuitive design here. This is your throttle. So you do have it set at sport. So I'm going to bring this down to 0 off so that my throttle does not kick in. But this is your throttle on your left-hand side. Some people have said that they didn't like it here. And, you know, there are kits where you can change it to a twist throttle if you wanted to, but I like everything the way this design is put out. You have a wider handlebar than you used to with some of the other XP models. So you do have the space to do more with accessories still. These are my speedometers or my controlling for my cameras. This is our water bottle holder. This is sold on the eBike Products website. You can go to ebikeproducts.com/shop if you're looking for a water bottle holder. These work great, very stable, very hard. They come with 5 straps as well for your bike, and you can pick one of those up. You have hydraulic brakes left and right and front. And then of course you have, as I mentioned earlier, your trigger shifters here and hydraulic brakes that just work super nice. Other than that, you have your folding mechanism here. And in fact, let me go ahead and show you what it looks like when we fold down this bike. All right, so I'm going to show you how I typically like to fold down a bike like this. So I put up the kickstand first, and I usually like to stand on the side where the bend is on the opposite. Now, this is not, I'm going to say, the right way to do it. I'm just going to say that this is the way I like to fold my bikes. I find that this is the easiest way because I can use the brakes and the leverage. So I'll open the latch here, and then what I'll typically do is I'll hold the back brake, and I'll start by braking the frame a little bit here first. And then by holding the back brake, it keeps the back tire stable, and it allows me to then bring the bike here, and then I can just bring this up here, holding the back brake the whole time. Also, I do find that the bike is very stable from falling over if you don't put it all the way close together. Now you can put it together and it'll stay up. It does have the center bottom stand over here that does keep it from being on the frame itself. That's a stand there, but for the most part, this is how I like to fold. Now once that's folded down, I will lift this up and then put handlebars down here and keep the bike together. Now, of course, like I said, if you keep a little separated out, it's a lot more stable. The bike won't fall over this way. But this is how I like to do it. And look how small it is. Now this is a 62-pound bike without the battery. So what I would typically say is, you're going to lift this bike, you might want to take the battery out first because it brings it down to 62 pounds. The battery is an extra 9 pounds. So that means that you're going to be carrying 71 pounds total bike weight if you do leave the battery in. I'll leave that out. Now, if you're going to take the battery out, one of the design, I think, hindrances is the keyhole is between the frame here. So you do need to keep it a little spaced out. You can release it. There's a pin on the bottom that comes out and the battery will come sliding right out. The battery will hit the ground. So even in some of the other places, I never usually put the battery without having something below because I don't want it sliding out and hitting the ground directly. And then with this handle here, you can lift this up and then pull out the battery so that you have clearance. The whole full design. Now, when putting the bike back together, just go the opposite way. I put this here. You always want to be aware of your pedals. So this pedal down at the bottom here is cleared, and you always want to keep this pedal away from the latch here. But when you're picking the bike back up, again, I hold the brake on the rear and then put the bike, it just puts itself. I'm holding the brake the whole time, getting it all together here, and then slap that together, make sure it's in. And then once stepping over this side. Yeah, so this is just how I do it. I fold the bike a lot. I take the battery out whenever I need to charge it. So I do need to fold and unfold the bike quite often. And that's the way I like to go ahead and have it put together. You can do it any which way. I think a lot of times they also do show people doing it from this side, folding it, but I find that it's a little harder, and that's how it is. But that's the folding of this and how small it gets. You can put it in an SUV pretty easily. It is a little larger than some of the older models, so it might be a little harder to get into a trunk of a Camry or an Accord, because those are your most popular sedan cars, but nonetheless, it might fit. Just a little advice when doing that, you can always take out the handlebar when you're doing it, so you can pull it out, and that way the handlebar width gets out of your way. Just be careful of all the cables, everything that you're doing. It's electronics. You want to be very careful with it. And you can also pull out the seat. That also gives a little more, making it a little lighter, but it also gets it out of the way. And of course, watch for your derailleur when you're putting it into your car or laying it down. This is one of the biggest benefits of having a folding e-bike. All right, so I hope that this review has given you a good insight to potentially what you might want to be looking for in an e-bike. And I'm telling you, this is for $12.99 for everything you get right now. Because it is their launch package, you get a lot of the extra accessories. It's the best time to jump on to getting something like this. I would say do it now. So this has been a review of the Lectric XP4. You can see this bike and make a purchase at ebikeproducts.com/XP4. That'll take you to the Lectric e-bikes website. It is an affiliate link. I do get some credit back, and it does go to help support the channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you, Lectric, for sending this bike out. It has been an absolute blast to review. It is raising the bar across the board for e-bike companies to go after. To get the pricing and the components, something even close to this would be mind-blowing. The technology, getting a bike put together like this for the way that it rides is absolutely amazing. Thank you guys all for your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.